So anyways, as you were saying about your beard.
This is news. The beard disguises the weak chin, the double chin action. So
Right. Yeah, I definitely, as I get older, I find like my neck kind of like just puffing out. Everything just kind of puffing out in my face. I think that's the Irish in me. When you drink, your face just fills up like a sponge, and there's no going back. You know, it's what happened to Adam Baldwin.
yeah, look at Adam Baldwin.
I mean, you look at him in like Beetlejuice or The Hunt for Red October, and he's like,
That's Alec Baldwin.
What did I say?
Adam.
Whatever, my bad. Yeah, so Alec Baldwin.
I think Adam Baldwin's from my Bodyguard.
Right. Not that guy. And Full Metal Jacket.
Right.
Just look at Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
You know what it is?
Yeah, I wound up killing people.
Yeah, he became a vicious murderer.
That's what happens.
I call him Adam Baldwin sometimes because his character in Beetlejuice is Adam. So I get it confused oftentimes.
I see.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, like you look at him in like Beetlejuice, incidentally, and also like The Hunt for Red October, and he's this, lean-faced piece of ass. And then you look at him on like sort of his more recent like television appearances and stuff, mm-hmm. and he's just got that fat Irish face,
He's better in Miami Blues
as a young piece of ass.
Yeah.
Right. You're like mostly Irish, right?
No.
No? Oh, okay.
Probably mostly Italian.
Really?
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I would have thought you as like a full-on Irish guy.
No.
You're Italian.
It's Ryan is very, very Irish name, but my mother's name is Anastasia. That's her last name. And then
that's like Russian.
Well, no, there's like a whole mafia family. Like one of the big heads of the mafia, Anastasia.
Oh. So you're a made man?
You're thinking of the Princess Anastasia. That was her first name. That wasn't her last name.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what? So she had an Italian first name?
Look, man. Do I look Russian to you? I don't know.
You look like you're in a hurry. I
am.
Get it? Because you're Russian.
I'm in a hurry to get through this conversation.
Nice. That's good.
And then on my father's side, my grandmother's last name was Cataldo, so I got all Italian mother's side and then half on my father's.
Jesus Christ.
So you do the math.
Yeah. I just always envisioned, like, because you're also from Massachusetts, so like I just figured that you were like a Boston Mick, And
right.
You're just that kind of guy, but you're actually a Boston Wop.
Well, sorry to disappoint all the fans out there.
Yeah, everyone's canceling. We're watching the subscriber number just like plummet,
Yeah.
It's like, he's a goddamn Italian. Anyways, yeah. So how did we get on this? Was this about the beard?
I don't remember now. Was it?
I don't know. I mean,
no. You were talking about like your big bloated Irish face when you drink.
That's right. Right. Big bloated Irish face.
And then you were asking me about my Irish heritage, and I have some.
Right. Yeah. No. The like what kind of European you are dictates how the fat is distributed over your body. You look Irish too. Like when you get fat, you just get a big belly, and like that's it. Like everything else just stays normal. You just get a beach ball under your shirt. Whereas like I tend to grow like big fucking beautiful tits.
What? So big beautiful tits. That's like from where? France.
Yeah. No. No.
Is that just like Canada?
No. That's like like Latino, like South American, like I'd say kind of olive complected Europe.
Oh, I was just going to ask: is South America known for their big beautiful tits? Is that?
Well, I mean, like
I thought they were more known for like their voluptuous asses. I remember when Buttman went down to Rio.
Right. Yeah, no, that, but man, no, you're like, I mean, it's like, if you're like an Italian guy or like just sort of a Latin kind of guy, you'll get like a big fucking thick chest and you'll get a big ass too, you know? Like that's it. The fat distribution is more womanly, I'd say. But I do my best to stay as thin as possible. I can't stop my face from going fat. Like I can get pretty like, you know, I can get pretty fit, but my face just does not change. I don't think there's any way to do it unless I, you know, get some sort of
Get liposuction on your face.
Yeah, exactly. Get some sort of vacuum cleaner or like get that shit where they cut away a piece and then pull the shit back and then stitch it back up again. John, today we're talking about a film that you recommended called Bad Company.
Okay.
And it's this is a film that, if I'm not mistaken, is about the hard times during the Civil War.
Well, I mean, yeah, I guess so. There's not a lot of Civil War in it, almost none, other than that very beginning moment when they're rounding up soldiers.
Yeah,
It's more of a, it's more of a Western.
yeah, I know, but I mean, like there's usually a little bit of an overlap, like Civil War overlap in a lot of Westerns. Like, I mean,
Sure.
it's in, you know, Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Good, Bad, and the Ugly.
Sure. What else do you got? Well, that's all I can think of. Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Well, no, like, I mean, the Outlaw. We should talk about the Outlaw Josie Wales too, if we have time, because I really like that movie a lot. But yeah, there's some overlap in there. Yeah, it's usually, or even. Well, no, that's not true. I was about to say The Searchers, but The Searchers is actually more like Texas Rangers, like. Oh no, hold on, that's not true, because the guy, John Wayne's character, just gets finished. Like he's a decommissioned Southern soldier, if I'm not mistaken. So I mean, there's always like a little bit of a, you know, it's always referenced in these Western movies. Not always, but like very, very often. Anyways, who the fuck cares? The thing about Bad Company is that at the time it was referred to as an acid Western. Did you ever hear that before?
No, I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, I think it's just like some goofy thing, like some fucking journalist just decided to be colorful with their language.
Is that like something to do with like it's sort of like a post, you know, sort of like the late, like latter part of the 60s, late 60s, you know, when the young movie brats start coming in and making films. Is that what it's sort of like in reference to? So it's like a counterculture Western, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. The idea was to demythologize and kind of treat the characters as like real people, as opposed to sort of how we're used to seeing these kinds of characters portrayed in film. How would these people really behave? So when they're saying acid Western,
it's a terrible. It's a very stupid term.
It's something that like maybe it was like Rolling Stone magazine that, like, you know, described Jimi Hendrix as heavy metal for the first time. They thought that it would catch on. And I guess it did. There's a Wikipedia entry for acid Western.
Okay.
And indeed, they do seem to refer to, like, the acid is in reference to LSD. You know, I would have thought, you know, it would be in reference more like just to like
stomach acid.
Yeah. Well, you know, like deconstructive or something. You know, like I'm not really sure. Maybe
I don't think it's that. I don't think they're that smart. So I think it's like something like new wave Western or something would have been more on point.
Anti-Western.
Or anti-Western, that too. Like some more traditional moniker. Acid Western sounds just
gay.
That's actually what popped in my head, but I didn't want to alienate our gay listener with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. We really have to watch our step around that one gay guy. Anti-Western. Let's call it an anti-Western. I think that makes a lot more sense. Excuse me. So we got Jeff Bridges and Millie Bobby Brown. What's the guy's name?
Barry Brown.
Barry Brown. Seems to be a little bit of a tortured soul, kind of a James Dean type, dies young, kind of like a, malcontent, that kind of guy. I didn't really do a whole lot of research on Barry Brown, but that seems to be his whole thing.
Another suicidal actor that we're reviewing.
Yeah, he also did the stuntman's death. He blew his head off with a shotgun, apparently.
Oh, did he?
Well, maybe not a shotgun, but just some sort of firearm. He shot himself in the head.
Because I had never seen anything that he had done before, at least not to my knowledge, but I liked him a lot, and I was just like, oh, what happened to this guy? And then I kind of looked him up, and I saw that he killed himself, and then I watched Daisy Miller, because he's in that too, and so because I liked him and I wanted to see what else he did, and I didn't like Daisy Miller as much as Bad Company, but he's actually, I liked him a lot in it. He's very good in it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's too bad he blew his brains out.
Yeah, I mean, he was pretty good as like the straight man to Jeff Bridges' wacky loony kind of guy. But then as the movie goes on, you kind of realize that he's lying about everything, and he's got sort of his own secrets. He's not just an open book, like the honest guy to Jeff Bridges kind of.
Well, you know from the get-go that he's lying. There's a whole scene where he's like beating himself up and punching the wall to create a whole story about how he robbed the hardware store.
That is true.
Pretty much at the beginning. So you know that he's got an agenda, but you sort of forgive him because you know that he's like hanging out with a bunch of crooks, and this is just what you have to do. So in his case, you're sort of like, okay, that's okay to lie and but in the case of everybody else in the crew, including Jeff Bridges, like they're all scoundrels.
Yeah, they're 100% scoundrels. When you first come up upon them, well, we first meet Jeff Bridges, who kind of, does a little, like, walk beside you for a little while, pretend to be your friend, then drag you into an alley and pistol whip you maneuver. And then when our boy wakes up, he ends up meeting the rest of the gang, and they're all just, like, in an open field, just, like, torturing a cat, basically, like just doing something.
They're tying pots and pans to a cat. There's a lot of animal abuse in this film, so be aware. Yeah, like they definitely kill a rabbit on camera. Like, so we watch a rabbit get killed, and then also, it's funny because they let us watch the rabbit die, but then they go to great lengths to not show us the rabbit being cleaned and skinned. And I think that's more just to allow Jeff Bridges to, perform. Let us see his chops, his thinly veiled disgust. But anyways, yeah, like, I mean, we haven't really talked about kind of what this movie's like about yet. It's about this guy who escapes conscription into the Civil War. And it's just kind of this journey. He ends up falling in with these scoundrels, as we mentioned before, Jeff Bridges being the leader. And they kind of try to go across the country to, where are they going? California? It's weird because like at one point they say that they're going to go to California, but Barry seems to have a fantasy of owning a silver mine in Virginia City. So I'm not really, is Virginia City in Virginia or is it somewhere else?
I don't know.
But that's his goal as far as Jeff Bridges and his crew. It seems like they're planning to, like, it feels like they're going west. Like it seems like it's this journey west.
Yeah. And it ultimately doesn't even matter because within the movie, like after about 10 minutes of watching these guys kind of go on their journey, you realize that they really have no way, they don't have any kind of survival skills. Like they're good at like knocking over little kids for pocket change and tying pots and pans to cats. But when it comes to actually like, going out into no man's land and actually having to compete with real roaming gangs, that kind of ride through the wastes and are serious. They don't have any chance at all. They really are just kids.
Well, one of the things I did like about the film was this idea that like going west was like going into hell. Like they meet people coming back saying like, you don't want to go over there. You don't want to go out there. It's fucking fucked up.
Right. They meet a guy who went bust, and he ends up offering his wife to all of the boys for
some quick cash.
$10. And our main guy, what's his name?
Barry Brown.
He ends up not partaking because of morals. And this, I guess, maybe also is one of the reasons why I thought of him as being more, I guess, honorable or respectable or something, because he didn't want to partake in digging out the whore.
Right. But it's sort of a whole thing about how he's got a decent amount of money that he's hiding from the crew. And during their most hard times, when they actually could use money to buy food and supplies and whatever to survive, he refuses to tell them about the secret stash of money in his shoe.
It's one thing to be a liar. It's another thing to just like needlessly make yourself vulnerable,
Look, I'm not saying that like he deserves the way that Jeff Bridges like knocks him unconscious, steals his money and leaves him out on the prairie to die is equal to hiding your money in your shoe at all. But he did lie. He did lie to the crew.
He did lie to the crew.
So when Barry is accusing Jeff Bridges of being a liar, well, Jeff Bridges is also, well, you're a liar just like me.
Yep. The film is kind of like arranged in a bunch of like little vignettes, which I appreciate. That's kind of, I like films that are like that because they're fun to talk about. Remember the part when. I don't know, like overall, I mean, what do we got? We got the part where a big thing of this movie is stealing a pie off a windowsill.
That's a great scene.
Like stealing a pie off a windowsill, very Americana, very mischievous, kind of wholesome. But boy, oh boy, is it ever surprising when our little pal Boog gets clapped in the back of the head by a fucking shotgun, I guess.
Yeah, he gets his head blowed right off.
Yeah, and he just lays there, and just like a fucking animal. But yeah, it's pretty cool. You see that nice shot too, where his brains kind of just pop out the top of his head, and he's a little boy. Yeah. Pretty awesome.
Shocking.
Pretty awesome. This is Robert Benton's first stab at directing. I don't know. Like, do you think he did a good job?
I thought it was great. I think it's a great film. Mm-hmm. I think because he went on to do Kramer versus Kramer, which I think is just a mediocre. I mean, it's okay for what it is, but it's not. I don't even think it's in the league of this movie.
Fair enough. I think that Kramer versus Kramer is a great film. I guess I would have to say that I think this is a more interesting film. But one thing that you have to admit about Kramer versus Kramer is that it did something that like most movies never ever do. And when I say most movies, I mean like 99.9% of all movies. They don't really change anything. I think that Kramer versus Kramer like went a long way for men getting like custody rights of their kids.
Right.
That's more of a right place at the right time kind of thing. It just happened to be.
Well, I do think that the movie, definitely was right place, right time. But I think watching it later, it feels somewhat dated. And its story is so, it feels like it's sort of like making a big deal about like, oh, this couple's getting a divorce and this guy's going to take care of his kid, and he's sort of like, living his life and in New York City and taking care of the kid, and then the mother wants the kid back, and the way it sort of like is presenting this story is sort of like, oh, isn't this a very interesting story? And at the time it was fairly unique, but I feel like now it's just like it's such a common story that it almost feels like, what's the big deal?
No, I mean, I think that's interesting. That they.
I mean, even like when we were talking in the divorce episode the last time, like we were talking about like that period in the like late 70s and 80s and all the divorce films, and it was genuinely a very new idea at the time.
Almost taboo.
It was still very taboo. When my mother got divorced, there still was this feeling of like, what's wrong with you? Like, what's wrong with these people?
Yeah. What's wrong with America?
And so when Kramer versus Kramer is coming out at that time, it is very like, it's a very taboo subject. And so now it's something that we're so, overly used to. It kind of loses a little bit of that power.
Yeah. Yeah. Back to Bad Company though. One of the scenes that I really like is when Jeff Bridges pulls his gun on that guy in the awesome fur coat who smokes a pipe.
Oh, the Big Lebowski.
The Big Lebowski?
He's the Big Lebowski.
Really? Oh shit! Oh, you mean like the guy who's in the wheelchair in the Big Lebowski? The Big Lebowski, right?
He's the real Big Lebowski.
Oh, there you go. So Jeff Bridges.
So that's
and
a
Big Lebowski.
rematch.
Wow. He got his revenge eventually back in I guess what 90 fucking 6, I guess, is the Big Lebowski. Anyways, he pulls his gun on him, but he can't fire.
Huddleston, I think his name is.
Right. Boy, if you're going to level your weapon at someone, you best be prepared to fire, because not everyone's as patient as me. And he ends up just shooting the gun right out of Jeff Bridges' hand. Well, just that part where where his goons are eating beans, and all of his goons, they have the big blowout at the end, like basically a gunfight where Barry Brown and Jeff Bridges are chasing them, like just running and shooting like forward and just chasing them up a hill, and then we have a fur coat, pipe smoking, bean eating guy, just kind of like, he just seems like he's been out there in the wilderness for so long that he knows when to get involved and when not to, and like he's just seen it all, and he's completely comfortable there. That character is definitely the coolest character of the whole fucking thing, of the whole film.
So I don't know if you noticed, but like the gang is like a lot of sort of like Clint Eastwood regulars, like Jeffrey Lewis, like from Any Which Way But Loose, like those films. The big fat guy was like in the Motorcycle Gang. Ed Lautner, and the guy, I think the guy who was, when they go to some isolated cabin, and the guy gives him some food, but he's like holding a gun on them the entire time. I think that guy too was in like High Plains Drifter or something. So it's like all these like Clint Eastwood stock company characters.
Yeah, I definitely recognized a lot of faces, but I couldn't place them. Like, definitely some of those gang members, they seemed like they were given their roles for their sort of character-rich kind of faces. There's a certain look.
That's what I like about that period of American film, is that it's just like loaded with the like these catcher mitt face,
Yeah.
just like character actors, like that Jeffrey Lewis guy who's also in Salem's Lot, bunch of other stuff. He's great. Ed Lautner's great from Death Wish 4, your favorite.
Yeah. The lady from the Goonies, the old lady, the mom from the Goonies.
Yeah.
She's in there. She's one of the gang members in Bad Company. Yeah. So like, I mean, there's a little bit of action. Anne Ramsey, right? There's a little bit of action. There's some gun fighting stuff. The scene that you just mentioned, where Jeff Bridges is, spitting out his food and making a scene. He's just he's got a problem with authority, that seems pretty cool. But actually, like, what really kind of brought it around for me and kind of made me go like, okay, this is pretty cool. Is the very end when motherfucking Barry Brown joins like the posse that is tasked with catching the rotten fucking desperado gang. And they end up catching him, and then he ends up kind of taking responsibility for Jeff Bridges, and he's like, "Oh, I got $1,000 buried somewhere." And then after a while, he realizes that there's no money, and he's like, "All right, well, guess what? You got to pay me back," And then they end up just becoming kind of like a desperado duo, And it made me think like you know what? Back in those, like, because I haven't seen as many Westerns as you, but I've definitely been trying to catch up. Been watching a lot more recently, but like, I love the American West because that kind of shit happens. Like, sometimes your best friend is the guy that just owes you money. And that's why he's your friend, is because he just owes you money. And that's the reason why you two look out for each other, because you both kind of have something on each other like that. It's like, even the luxury of like a true friendship is, it's not something that everyone gets, Sometimes, your friends are just these people who like owe you stuff. I think that's pretty cool. And it speaks to the time. I also like the way of speaking, like the language that is used throughout this film. I think it's really cool and interesting, and kind of makes you work to understand what they're saying. Like, it's sort of, I don't know. For me, it's a little bit difficult to like decipher like kind of what they're talking about, because they use kind of an antiquated language, but it's not absolutely inaccessible. The reason why also I noticed it, because I watched it with my Hungarian friend and also my Taiwanese girlfriend, and there were subtitles on the screen that were in English, and both of them were, I think, having trouble kind of following it, Whereas I was keeping up, but I really had to pay attention. I was also drunk too when I was watching it.
The other thing I liked about it was at the very beginning, when they're rounding up boys to fight for the North in the Civil War. Yeah. There's all these boys dressed as women.
Yeah, you love that.
That was pretty great. There was at least like two kids because they're like driving around with like a wagon cage.
It's like the thing that you would use to carry a fucking tiger in the circus.
Yeah, and so they're like filling it with these boys to take them to the Civil War, and there's all these boys in the cage wearing dresses because their moms were trying to hide them as girls. Yeah. That's cool. I never would have thought that, And in fact, kind of just opening a movie like that. I'd never seen anything like that before. If I was a little bit more well read on kind of, what the common practice was during conscription time during the Civil War, maybe I would know, but like you're able to kind of just put it together. You're like, what the, because they just open the movie and that's what you see, and you're just kind of like, what the fuck's going on here? And then you're like, oh, I get it. So like that's kind of nice. Like, I always appreciate when just enough information is given for you to kind of put it together yourself, and it's not too little or not too over explained. But it's a cool movie. I mean, this almost is like how did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid get their start, or something like that, like an origin story of like a famous
gunslinging duo.
And just the constant incompetence, like just consistently things kind of just don't really work out very much. Like whether it's just like trying to get some food, or even like between each other, like just between the gang, like there's some serious conflicts going on, infighting going on, that just keep it interesting, keep it going.
Yeah, fuck. So yeah, I'll for me, like overall, I'd say I'd give it like a 3. If we're going to the eggplant scale, I'd say
it's 4.
Yeah, this is a 3 for me. But I did enjoy this very much, and I'm happy that it was suggested by you.
The only thing that was disappointing, and I actually thought this was, and like I was watching an edited version where when the guy's offering up his wife as a prostitute to the boys, and she's like taking off her like 6 shirts, and you get down to the final shirt and she's just about to unbutton it, and then there's this quick cut away, and I was just like, oh, I must have the edited version,
right?
Because it was such a drastic cut before the tits were revealed that I was like, oh, this must be edited. But then a friend of mine who also saw it, he mentioned it to me, and I was like, oh, I guess that's just the way it is.
Yeah, no. I thought that as well, and I actually, as I was watching the film, pulled up my phone to see if there was like 2 different versions or something. Right. That's just that,
so because of that edit, I mean, if I'm giving it a 4, if we had seen the tits, I would have given it a 5.
Wow, that's crazy. This man loves tits. This is a man that loves a nice rack, a nice set of jugs.
Italian. That's part of our it's part of our heritage.
That's right. You love, I love my mother. I love being held tight against my mother's bosom.
Who said that?
I don't know. Some John Gotti.
Some Italian. John Gotti said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like something the Situation might say.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I'm the Situation.
Or Pauly D.
Yeah. You gotta remember to pump the fist.
GTL.
Yeah. So anyways, I guess, okay, we might as well talk about Vixen, because I did watch Vixen, and in fact, I had some time between my last call and this meeting with you right now. And so I rewatched kind of like the end of Vixen, like the part where they're in the plane. And,
that's like the worst part.
That's the part I like the most.
Oh shit! You don't like the part where she fucks her brother?
I mean, it's just a softcore porn. Who gives a fuck? It's not like it's really her brother or anything. I mean, I would have liked it if she was raped by that black guy. That would have been pretty cool.
The way that the black guy is portrayed is fairly strange, because he seems like he's always on the brink of exploding, like from all the abuse, but he never does.
No, he never does. He never can work it up, And it's funny too is that his brother is like a full on, like it must have just been like a costume department thing, because the brother is like wearing what do you call that? Like Nazi, like SS fucking pins and stuff. Right. Like he's decorated like a fucking Nazi, And it's like, and he seems to be just kind of like, hey, Vix, come on, give what's his name, like Niles or something, or
that sounds right.
Yeah, give Niles a break. He's the same as you and me. He just his skin happens to be black. He's got a Big Johnson. You might like it. You like Big Johnsons, don't you? Like he's just kind of like, he's extremely like fair and reasonable, and he has this black best friend, but meanwhile he's also like decided to outwardly code himself as being like a full on Nazi,
Right.
But
well, he's sort of like a Hell's Angel Nazi. He's not like a jackboot, German Nazi.
Sure, but I mean, listen, man, you outfit yourself with like swastikas and iron eagles and whatnot, and it's like.
But I mean, like that's like you're looking at it through the lens of a woke, 2024, Taiwanese citizen. You're not looking at it from the point of view of somebody in the, the late '60s when you're in motorcycle gangs, and that's just part of the iconography.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I just didn't realize it. I mean, I'm not like. It's not like it's offensive or shocking to me, I'm just like
no, but I'm just saying like you're sort of like thinking this guy's like he's sitting down reading Mein Kampf all night and and looking to reestablish the Third Reich. He was like a Hell's Angels Nazi, which just meant like he was just a asshole.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. I didn't realize that. I thought that like.
He's not like a white. I mean, he's hanging out with that black guy. How much of a Nazi could he be?
Well, that's my point. My point is like this is confusing.
So it's sort of like so it was sort of like that was just kind of like it was just part of this hippie culture of like, oh, I'm wearing Nazi pins to be shocking and be anti-establishment.
Okay.
It's not so much about like he was some sort of white supremacist.
I just think of like blood in, blood out, and like there's the biker gangs, like the Aryan Vanguard. And then there's the fucking black guerrilla army, the BGA, and then the fucking the Mexicans or the Latinos, And I was just like,
that's like all Sons of Anarchy shit.
Or Blood in, Blood Out, which predates that. Did you ever see that movie, Blood in, Blood Out?
No.
You really should watch that. That's like that's like my favorite like gangster movie. Well, when I say gangster, like it doesn't count like mob, it doesn't count like mafia movies because those are kind of made at a higher level. But like in terms of things like Menace to Society or like Boys in the Hood or just stuff that's sort of about like L.A. Or let's say California, like minority gangs.
What year is that?
I want to say 1993, maybe 95. Definitely an odd number year, but. Yeah, it's long though. It's like, but it's fantastic. It's like, not only is it a street gang movie, it's also like a prison movie filmed in San Quentin, and there's a big emphasis on like the economics, like how they keep the businesses going in prison and stuff, and it's super interesting. And
does it all take place in prison?
No, it takes place. It just takes place in California. Like another thing I should say too is that the movie takes place like over a long period of time, like over the course of maybe 15 years. So it's
no.
Yeah. I mean, the movie's not 15 years long.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
I don't want to watch a 15-year movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's long though. The movie's almost 3 hours long, probably like 2:45.
Yeah. Giving it one eggplant.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it later. I'm cutting all this nonsense out. This is not a nonsense podcast.
Okay.
So yeah, fuck. I just went off about Blood in, Blood Out for a bit. We're not. This is not a Blood in, Blood Out episode by any stretch of the imagination. Back to Vixen. So yeah, everybody. There's this lady, and her name's Vixen, and she wants to fuck everybody. She fucks a Mountie early on in the film. She's the husband of a pilot, like a bush pilot in Canada. And she fucks everybody, and that's kind of what the movie is for like a while. But one person who she won't fuck is Niles.
The black
guy. Because he is a black guy, and he comes to Canada to escape conscription because they want him to fight in Vietnam. Right?
Okay.
Right.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
I just think that, first of all, Russ Meyer is great director, interesting director, inventive, and Erica Gavin as Vixen. Like for me, that she makes the movie interesting. She's exciting. You don't see female characters like this ever. Somebody who's so rude and vicious, racist, nasty, and she does it very well. Like she seems to be totally into it, immersed in it. Like she's just this character, and that for me is what makes the film exciting.
Yeah, there is sort of this feeling of joy or fun or like closeness or like I don't know. Like sometimes you get you get this sort of feeling from a film, like the process of making it was like a very like kind of an intimate experience between everybody or something. I get that with Street Trash sometimes, or when I first saw it. But yeah, this one gives me the same kind of feeling. Everyone seems like they're very comfortable on the set when they're making the film. They're comfortable to just be their characters, to inhabit their characters, and to have fun with the material. The movie feels fun. That's something that I have to agree with.
But there's also something a little off about it, and I mean that in like the most entertaining way possible, where you have this guy who's like a World War II vet making this hip counterculture film that's dealing with racism in America, and he's sort of like he's discussing that he's bringing up this difficult subject of racism, and he's just kind of like not doing it the right way. Like there's something off about the way he's doing it that makes it really entertaining.
I guess so. I don't know. Like it kind of maybe what you just said now. It reminds me of like my friend's old dad, who was like an old French Canadian guy. Like my friend was like 4 years older than me. His dad had him when he was like almost 50. So like his dad was this ancient man, and we went over to his house, and his dad was super into like Diablo, like playing Diablo on the computer. And
the fuck is that?
So yeah, see, it's a fucking role playing game, like a fantasy role playing game where you're like a knight and you go around and use magic and stuff. And this old man would just play fucking.
I thought that was Dungeons and Dragons.
Well, there's a few of them, There's World of Warcraft and stuff, but his big thing was like Diablo. I think Diablo 3.
Okay.
But the reason why I say this is just because like that's kind of sometimes you get an old man like that. You get a World War II vet who who's an old man, and usually old men are going to think a certain way, but then some of them are just kind of like, I'm going to embrace. Yeah, that's kind of what Russ Meyer. I mean, and also Russ Meyer, like maybe he's just going to fucking be into whatever as long as he can get girls to take their tops off.
I think that he definitely is into that, but I think like he definitely has other interests that he repeats in a lot of his. There's always Mounties, there's always Nazis. Like it's that, and that's kind of like what makes it feel like he's doing this sort of like hip movie with incest and
hip topics like fucking your brother
and discussing race relations and racism and drugs and sex and all this crazy stuff, and then the movie ends with like this like espionage, like commie espionage story, which
evil
is
Irish.
Yeah, so it's sort of like this whole like weird like it ends with this weird political left field espionage story, which feels like a very kind of like old man kind of a storyline.
He's probably like, well, I mean, I'd like to put in, the stuff that the kids like today, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a real picture.
We got to get that important political message about how communism is bad at the end.
Well, you need to have an espionage story in there. You need to You need to have an airplane, you need to have a firearm, and you need to have a Irish commie trader who wants the guy to fly the plane to Cuba.
But he's obsessed with Nazis. He's obsessed with World War II. He's obsessed with Canadian Mounties for some reason. There's a lot of Mounties in his films. Yeah.
I wonder where Russ Meyer was stationed, like during his.
What do you mean?
Like during his
during World War II.
Yeah,
he was a photographer. He was a photographer in the European theater.
There's not a thing on the Wikipedia about his military service. Usually, if a guy's like a soldier, they have a little section.
Well, you can read the book "Big Bosoms and Square Jaws" by Jimmy McDonough. It's a fucking great book. Highly recommended.
During World War II, according to Meyer, he was in a French brothel with Ernest Hemingway, who, upon finding out that Meyer was a virgin, offered him the prostitute of his choice. Meyer picked the one with the largest breasts.
That's how it all started.
That's fucking hilarious. Like, that's so funny that's just the first thing that it says in personal and family life.
So thank you, Ernest Hemingway.
And you know what? That's it. That's all there is about his military service. That's crazy. Oh, wait, that's not true. He forged his strongest friendships while in the Army. And actually, you can see a lot of his newsreel work during the 1970 film Patton.
I didn't know that.
Well, there you go. If you watch Patton, you're seeing like all this Russ Myers stuff that he took while
I don't
location.
think I've ever seen Patton.
Patton's the one with George C. Scott, right?
That's right.
That's great. I'm glad that we talked a little bit about Vixen. I mean, is Vixen worth watching? Yes, it is.
Yes, I think so. I'm going to give it 3 eggplants.
Is it mostly a soft core film? Yes, it is. Is it inventive, as you stated? It is. Like I kept noticing, like kind of very. It actually, you know what, reminded me of all people of Michael Winner in Michael Winner shooting Death Wish 3, where like he's shooting through like the handle of a coffee cup, or he's like some guy has his hand on his hip and he's like shooting through like the ring made between the guy's torso and his arm, like, zhuzhing up the fucking shot by any means necessary. There's
like the wackiest angles possible. Yeah. Very cartoony.
Yeah, and Russ Meyer, I think it's when the brother first throws Vixen on the bed. He actually has like the springs, the what's inside the box spring, but with no box around it. So just the springs on the bed, and they have a portion of the mattress cut out, so you can see the springs. And then when he throws her on the bed, you're watching the springs kind of like accept the weight of both of these people, and and it's just like, wow, that's a pretty, this is more than just a softcore porn. There's some interest in cinema going on here. That's super funny though, when he's sort of taunting Vixen. He's like, we should get Niles in here to fuck you. He's got a big old black pecker, and could you just imagine him kind of like hunched over you, just grinning down with his big white shiny teeth? And she's like, no, she's freaking out. It's so funny and so like racist. It's just like, it's insane. It's actually insane. And also it's funny too, how like the racism is like not, the racism on Vixen's part is not even like explained, or like there's no reason. Like she just hates black people, and it's,
right.
And not only does she hate black people, but she will take every single opportunity that she has to let black people know that she hates them.
Yeah, she's not quiet about it at all.
It's not just she wants them.
And
she
then
wants
it's
them
funny
to know.
how like we mentioned earlier, where the guy in the film Niles, the black guy, it's just like, he constantly, like you see him like he looks like he's about to explode and do something, but I don't think he ever really has his moment, from what I remember.
No.
Which makes it even funnier for some reason. Like, it's sort of, like, I feel like anybody else would have had him, like, lash out. Like, if you were watching some blaxploitation movie and that was going on, you know that Fred Williamson or Isaac Hayes is going to, like, drop kick that woman in the face.
Yeah.
Here that doesn't happen.
Vixen almost gives an apology at the very end, but she doesn't. But then without giving the apology, Niles accepts it, you know? Like, Niles, and she turns around, or Niles turns around. Yeah, what is it, Vix? Or no, what is it? And then she can't say it. She just can't bring herself to apologize to a black guy. And then he goes, "It's all right, Vix." And then she smiles. She smiles at him. And I got to say, you know, she's got a hell of a smile.
Right.
It's a pretty racist movie. You know, you get away, like, basically it's just like Vixen's a horrible racist, but at the same time she's, like, you know, portrayed as being charismatic and pretty fucking cool. And in the end, you know, she gets away with it.
Pretty cool. Did she fight? Well, she fucks her brother, so she's got to be cool.
She fucks everybody. She fucks that woman.
Right.
You know, she's I mean, you can't tell me you
but
watch.
it's not like it's not like she's like a racist that's portrayed as like, oh, isn't she great? Like, oh, this is like, look at this racist rise to the top of the, you know, become incredibly successful from being racist. She's a
mess.
She is awful. Like, there's, like, other than being very attractive and willing to fuck anybody except black people, there's nothing. She has no redeeming qualities.
Well, I mean, she's
constantly, like, nasty and angry and rude and unpleasant.
She saves the day at the end. Well, at least in part, like, she contributes to saving the day at the end.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
Not all bad.
I'm not really making a judgment call here. It's just that, like,
well, you're like the judgy one of the show.
That's true. No, that's not true. You're way more judgy than me.
I mean, like, in a moralistic way.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean,
I do.
I don't know about that. I wouldn't say that that's
everybody go listen to the Beau Pair episode.
Hey, I mean, yeah. Okay, yeah. Go listen to the Beau Pair episode. I think that my points are absolutely just fine. You know, nothing's out of pocket. But regarding Vixen, like, I mean, all I'm saying is that, like, if you were to be asked whether or not the movie Vixen is like a racist movie, would you say that it is or it isn't? Or you just say, oh, Vixen's racist, but the movie's not racist?
I would kind of put it more that way. I think it deals with racist subject matter, but I don't think the film it's not like Birth of a Nation.
No, it's definitely not like Birth of a Nation. But I mean,
what degree of racism would you put this film at?
I mean, if
like 100 degrees?
No, if you have like
one is like Precious. And Birth of a Nation is at 100. Where would you put Vixen?
So hold on. Are you telling me that Precious is a non-racist? Is like the most non-racist movie there is?
I don't know. Is it?
I don't think so.
Where would you put Precious on that on Rob Jabaz's racist scale?
Oh man, we need to actually make that scale. I don't know. Like. I never even thought about where Precious would go. By the way, everybody, I like the film Precious. Johnny doesn't like the film Precious.
You have to say that you're basically famous for two things: one, making the sadness, and two, for liking Precious.
That's true.
Those are your two claims to fame.
Yeah, that's true. And now that I think about it, like Vixen, the film Vixen, there is sort of like a seeing eye to eye that happens at the end. And in fact, maybe the the one of the struggles in the movie is kind of like Vixen kind of finally seeing eye to eye with Niles, you know? And so maybe that is kind of like a
redemption.
Well, yeah, that's the end of the road. Like when we finally come to our resolution, that's the resolution we come to, you know? Like, oh, okay, we can look at each other and there can be, you know, well, Vixen, you sure are a firecracker. You know, it's just kind of like, Niles, yeah, you're black, but you know, you're
one of the good ones.
You're one of the good ones, Niles. Yeah, so maybe like if I think about it, like the message, or at least the intended message of Vixen isn't one of racism.
Because I also feel like Russ Meyer works with really big
tits,
over the top, tits, but also big emotions. Like if somebody's racist, they're the biggest racist in the world, and if somebody's like a hero, they're like everybody's sort of like very, you know, everything's very big, very emotional, very dramatic. You know, if somebody's a bad person, they're like, you know, the baddest person ever. Because for him, that's big drama. That's exciting drama.
That's like that's probably why like gay people like Russ Meyer films, you know, because they're like there's sort of an overlap between like a Russ Meyer film and like a John Waters film in terms of like how the acting is.
That's why I wanted to change the name of this podcast to Gay for Film.
Gay for Film, yeah. Well, we workshopped that a little bit, but then we actually thought that, you know, it sets up an expectation that we couldn't fulfill.
Well, maybe we should fulfill it.
By the way, Brokeback Mountain is like one of the funniest movies ever made, and it's in that scene where Jake Gyllenhaal shows up at Heath Ledger's driveway, and the wife is standing in the doorway, and like the guy goes out to meet his friend, and like they're so horny for each other they can't even control themselves. Like they just start making out. They don't even care like that the wife is seeing it. Like they take such like minimal precautions to keep it a secret. Like they're just so fucking horny for each other. And I'm just like, oh my God, I've never been that horny for anybody, you know, like that's so fucking crazy. Like it's just insane how these guys are just like, they're just after each other's dicks. Like
they crawl across their mother's corpse.
They crawl across their mother's corpse just to get a little bit of pre-cum. But, great movie though. I love myself a little bit of Brokeback Mountain. Taiwanese director, by the way, Ang Lee. Oh, sorry. So what does Vixen get again? I forget. Do we rate that?
I'll give Vixen 3. I think it's wild and fun enough that it deserves to be watched.
Yeah.
Erica Gavin is so crazy and interesting in it.
Right.
It's worth watching.
In the same way, I'll bring it back to our little conversation about Kramer versus Kramer. In the same way that, like, you know, divorce is less of an interesting topic, or less of sort of a buzzy topic, electric topic today, and that kind of like takes the wind out of the sails. When you watch it today, you're just kind of like, what's the big fucking deal? That's the same way I feel about something like Vixen, where it's like just softcore porn of just two people laying on each other with like big natural tits just kind of smooshed against the guy's hairy chest laying on the ground. So much of the film devoted to that is just like, I don't, you know, like I'm checking my watch, you know, to see how much time is left. Thank God the film's only like, you know, an hour and 10 minutes long.
But I feel like because of the Russ Meyer direction, like, you know, I've seen other softcore films where like it's very kind of like slow and like the camera is sort of like soft focus, lovingly sort of exploring the two lovers. Here it's like real snappy, like he's coming up with crazy angles. I think as far as softcore films go, he's the most fun.
Yep, I'll agree with you. It's good for softcore porn, but it's still softcore porn. It does surprise. I mean, and like I said before, like I thought that the whole sequence in the plane at the end, and that not Scottish guy, but Irish guy at the end. That to me was like was honestly the most fun in terms of just like the story.
Well, what's interesting too is that, like, because of the the story and the drama with Niles and the brother, and like I can sit and watch a Russ Meyer film. I can sit and watch the entirety of Vixen and be okay with it. I'm not going to sit and watch an entire like hardcore porno film. Like when it comes to hardcore porno, you just want to get right to the action. You're not.
You want to jerk off.
You don't want to sit there and watch the story.
No.
You just want to get to the action. So here, you're watching the whole film, and I feel like he's able to do that, whereas most hardcore porn films are fucking boring as fuck.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, they stopped.
And even though they have like penetration, which is, what you're saying, like, I want penetration, like, that's fine, but I'm not going to sit through all this boring fucking shit to get to the penetration. Well, here you can. Different,
there's a different expectation for different things. Like porn is for jerking off. It's to give yourself some visual stimulation so you can fucking, have a jerk off session. But like something like and then softcore porn is just like, there's not really any place for softcore porn anymore. Like, can you imagine, like before it was like, oh man, there's something on Cinemax, where
is that Euphoria?
Yeah, I mean, well, sure. I mean, have you seen Euphoria?
I've seen some of the first season.
Yeah, me too. I never watched anything beyond, but I think I watched the full first season. I think Euphoria is, there's to say that it's softcore porn is
generous.
Is to say something. It's like in bad faith, like you're not making a reasonable argument. There's definitely more there than just like Sydney Sweeney.
I'd rather watch Vixen and any Russ Meyer movie than have to watch Euphoria again.
Well, okay, that's your opinion. I think that Euphoria's got a lot going for it.
All right, calm down.
I'm as cool as a goddamn cucumber.
Well, but it looks like you're sweating.
I'm sweating. I'm sweating because all this talk about porn is making me get a little hot under the collar.
I'm not trying to compare Euphoria with softcore. My point is, if the story is good, compelling enough, whether it has softcore action in it, I'm going to watch it. I'm probably going to watch the whole thing. If the story is interesting, if the characters are interesting, like in the instance of Vixen. Whereas I feel like a lot of hardcore porn, especially like a lot of the stuff that's considered like golden age 70s porn, a lot of it is incredibly boring.
Right.
And the stories suck. And I'm probably, I might fast forward to the sex scenes and check them out, but I'm not going to, like, I don't like the thought of like sitting through like a long porno movie that has a story around it. Most of the time it's just really, it's ponderous, man.
Right. No, I mean, and I 100% agree with you. Like, I mean, I can't even imagine a single instance in my entire life where I've watched an entire porn movie. But Vixen is just like it kind of is in this weird gray area. A lot of the stuff that we talk about on this show that you recommend is sort of in a gray area, especially like a lot of like the sort of erotic stuff, like any stuff that's like even something like To Be 20, Tinto Brass movies.
Like Paprika is like another good example of like, I think that's a great movie. It's a softcore movie. It's an interesting story. Everybody in it is cool. It's good. Everybody in it's good looking, and the story's interesting. Like I think it works.
Yeah, fine. I mean, it works. It's like
the fact that I don't see a penis going into a vagina doesn't make me feel like this is a less like. Would that make the movie better? I don't know.
Tinto Brass did Caligula too, right?
Yeah, some of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So even something like that, like when you mix, like, it's obsolete to do a film like that these days. Like to mix porn with like a story, it just doesn't work anymore. The only way that one can enjoy it is on some sort of nostalgic kind of basis. You know, they don't make them like that anymore. But like, so I mean, you can kind of appreciate it in the same way that you can appreciate like an old Atari game or something. You know, it's like, oh, this is cool. Oh, wow.
But I do think that there's some instances like this where, you know, this is an example of a softcore that is pretty good. You know, it's a good story, and you're never going to encounter a character like Vixen, I think, in any movie then or now. And that is what makes it interesting, not just because the fact that you see tits, that's a bonus, but this character is so crazy and compelling that it makes it worthwhile.
This is a stupid question. Do you think that Vixen is a better film than like Basic Instinct? It's like apples and oranges kind of thing, but just your knee jerk.
Yeah. Yeah, I would rather watch Vixen again than Basic Instinct.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to give Vixen.
And I'm not saying that Basic Instinct is bad. I like Basic Instinct fine, but there's just something very unique about Vixen that makes it that I like.
Yeah, I don't dislike Vixen. I think I do think it's kind of interesting, but I think that's it. Like it's like a curious little, like a curious, quirky little kind of oddity, and also kind of like a relic from a different time. For me, I'm going to give Vixen a 2, but it's a full-hearted 2. You know, it's definitely a recommend. Yeah. So okay. That's it. So we did motherfucking Bad Company, and we did motherfucking Vixen.
And we did Blood In, Blood Out.
No, we didn't do Blood In, Blood Out. You have to watch that. You gotta. I'm gonna cut that way down. The Blood In, Blood Out part.
Okay.
Because that is absolutely worth seeing. I mean,
I gotta track it down.
Yeah, it's not hard to find. Okay, great. Well, yeah, I should probably watch a few more Russ Meyer films. I know that I've seen Faster Pussycat, Kill Kill.
That's a good one.
And there's like, they used to show them a lot on just like regular like local cable in Toronto, because they'd have like, Blue movies after 11, and Russ Meyer movies would come on a lot. But I didn't really, I don't know. I mean, I'm a 90s porn guy, Even today, whenever I watch porn, I watch 90s porn because I can't get with anything before or after.
You're still watching like Nina Hartley and
yeah, absolutely,
and Hypatia Lee,
yeah,
and Peter North.
Oh yeah, big Peter North guy over here. Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Johnny. We'll stop recording now. Goodbye.
Bye.